LeighTDickey.com. Well, hello everybody, Leigh Dickey here. Welcome back to another episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. I apologize for how I sound. I may sound a little under the weather. It's probably because I have a sore throat, but we're going to soldier on and get through this new episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. But before we get into the content, into the body of today's episode, I want to get a little housekeeping out of the way. You can find the Beats and Speaks podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and all your preferred podcast platforms and apps of choice. So there's also heading over to my official website, LeighTDickey.com, and finding the Beats and Speaks podcast on YouTube on the Leigh Dickey TV YouTube channel. Now, with that all out of the way, let's get into the bulk of today's podcast. Alrighty then, so today I want to talk about movies that I have seen more than once. And when I say that, I mean movies that I went to the theater to see more than one time. And that keeps in line with last week's episode, how I said I didn't really have any interest in Toy Story 4 or any other movie reboots or remakes. So let's just jump right into it. Movies that I went to the theater to see more than one time. And the first one that comes to mind is Iron Man. The first Iron Man with Robert Downey Jr. and Terrence Howard, along with Gwyneth Paltrow. I liked the first Iron Man. I thought this was, I think, really early on in what is the modern, I guess you could say, like Marvel cinematic universe. I liked it. I really didn't catch on to the Marvel or superhero movie universe since, say, like the Christopher Reeve days of Superman and like Tim Burton's version of Batman and Batman Returns. There were a few in there, I'm sure, but like I really did like Tim Burton's Batman. I did like Batman Returns is probably my favorite Batman movie of all time. And I did really enjoy Christopher Reeve as Superman. Even like Superman's 3 and 4, I did like A Quest for Peace. But when it comes to movies that I went to the theater to see more than once, Iron Man ranks right up there. I liked it. I thought Gwyneth Paltrow did a good job as the female lead. I can't remember the character name, so somebody please fill me in on that. And Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark and Iron Man, I thought they fit perfectly together. But when it came to, say, War Machine and Terrence Howard, I was kind of like lukewarm. Like, he kind of came off robotic and kind of strange. I didn't quite understand how he fit in there. So I guess I don't know whether that's why they replaced him or it was probably a money issue and he priced himself out of the market. So that's when they got Don Cheadle for Iron Man 2 and then every other sequel and or like cinematic movie involving Iron Man and War Machine moving forward. And I thought that Don Cheadle has done a fantastic job. I think that Don Cheadle has done a fantastic job in the James Rhodes / War Machine role since taking over for Terrence Howard. And like, what more can I say? I liked the film. I liked Iron Man. It was, in my opinion, very good. And it was just something that I don't know why any of these films really spoke to me and had me go back to the theater more than once, kind of like calling my name, like, Leigh, come back and see us again. Come back again. It's a good thing to do. And when these films came out, I was, I don't know, like 18, 19, 20 years old. I was young or younger and, you know, was freewheeling and just sort of happy-go-lucky, throwing caution to the wind. And it was just something for me to do. Like, I would go out, even if it was by myself, to go see a movie, just because I was bored, right? I think the first time I saw the first Iron Man film in theaters, I went with a friend of my dad's, and we we enjoyed it. I had nothing bad to say about it. It was something new. It was something fresh, and it was one of the first films, I think, out of the like modern Marvel cinematic universe. So I thought it was pretty cool. The second time I went to see it, I was with a group of friends, and again, I thought the same thing. I thought it was great. I thought all parts were played really well, aside from Terrence Howard's, who I thought really just came off super weird. And Iron Man and all, I think I have it around the house somewhere. I probably got it on DVD. But Iron Man and all, I liked it. It was good. The second film I saw more than once in the theaters was Iron Man 2. I saw that, I think, 2 or 3 times. I saw that once with a friend of mine, and we thought it was good. Again, Don Cheadle as James Rhodes in place of Terrence Howard. Very well done. Mickey Rourke as Whiplash. I really like that. So it was cool. It was really nice to see that, and Rourke's sort of career resurgence has just been, in my opinion, like a marvel to watch. And I'm no pun intended, but sure, take it that way if you want. And I'm not one for going to see massive Hollywood blockbusters, and I'll probably tell you why in a future episode. But this was, again, I was younger, and I threw caution to the wind, and I figured, you know what? It was something that everybody was talking about, and I was so stoked for it, coming off of the success of the first Iron Man film. So going to see it really was a no-brainer for me. Like, yes, let's go see it. It sounds like a good idea. It sounds like a good time. I went to see it the first time with a friend of mine. I went with a group the second time, and the third time I went by myself. It was a matinee showing the last time I went. I just decided to do it because why not? I wasn't doing anything that day, clearly, because I think I went for like a noon showing. It was just something for me to do to get out of the house and basically kill a couple hours. Cause I thought it would be fun, and seeing it a third time, it might have been overkill. This isn't the first film within this episode that I'm going to talk about that I've seen multiple times in theaters, clearly. And it's not the first film within this podcast, within this episode, that I'm going to tell you that I've seen like 3 times. So it's the first 2 Iron Man films have stuck with me. I haven't seen any of the other ones since Iron Man 2. And quick side note, after Iron Man 2, I stopped going to the movie theaters for probably 6 years. And that's just because I kind of lost interest in the big blockbuster film, because they just kept pumping them out and pumping them out. It was sequel. This is when we started to get the remakes, and the studio basically releasing a movie and then 2 years later rebooting it. And I just lost interest. It didn't help that, well, it doesn't help still, that I'm not a fan of being an audience member and being in the middle of like super large crowds when a new movie comes out. But when it comes to going to movies these days, I'm more up to it. I'm more susceptible to, yeah, let's go, because you know what? There are some friends that I keep in contact with. I don't get to see them as often as I used to. So when they offer like, hey, let's go to a movie or let's go anywhere, I'm just like, yeah, let's get all over that, because I want to spend time with my friends. You know what I mean? Because they've been good to me. And if a movie's what we're going to do, a movie's what we're going to do. Because I go to movies now. I mean, my enjoyment in the film is secondary. I go for the company because I get to spend it with my friends. But I used to love going to the theaters, and not that this film, seeing it 3 times in the theater, Iron Man 2, I mean, has anything to do with me not going to the theater for almost 6 years. It's just I didn't really feel comfortable. And I still don't feel comfortable as an audience member if we go and it's completely packed. My first reaction usually is to find a door and run for it. But depending on who I'm with, if I want to be there, I will tough it out and I will spend the time in the theater watching the movie and enjoying my friends' company depending on who they are. And it basically comes down to who I'm with and do I think this is a good idea? And more often than not, yes, it's a great idea. Yes, I have a good time. Yes, I enjoy the films. But that's basically why I go to movie theaters in 2019 and beyond. As I get older, it's just like I'm here with friends. I'm here to enjoy the movie. I'm here to enjoy their company, and that's why I go. Moving on to another movie I've seen more than once in the theaters. The Dark Knight. It's The Dark Knight. That's the second film in the Christopher Nolan Batman series with what's his name? I can't even remember. Christian Bale as Batman, and in this film you had Heath Ledger as the Joker and Aaron Eckhart as Two-Face. I liked it clearly enough that I saw it 3 times in the theater. I saw it once with friends, once with a friend of my dad's, and then once by myself. Yes, that might be overkill, but you know what? I really did like this film, and I haven't seen it since the last time I saw it in theaters. The thing is, I have probably all the Batman films that have been released on DVD, and I mean like the cinematic films, like Tim Burton's Batman, Batman and Robin, Batman Forever, and then the Christopher Nolan ones. I have them all. You know, I even have the Batman movie with Adam West and Burt Ward. I am a Batman fanatic, by the way. I love Batman. Batman the Animated Series from the 90s is probably one of my favorite animated television shows ever. So, seeing Batman The Dark Knight, I'm going to call it Batman The Dark Knight, I'm sorry. But seeing The Dark Knight more than once, the 3 times I did see it in theaters, didn't really spoil it for me. I really did enjoy the film. I thought Heath Ledger's performance was masterful. Gary Oldman was in that. He was the commissioner, and I thought that was well done. Christian Bale, of course, as Batman. Really cool. I think Maggie Gyllenhaal she played Rachel in the film, the lead love interest, and I think she took over for Katie Holmes, if I'm not mistaken. So Maggie Gyllenhaal as Rachel, I can't remember the character's last name, and you had Heath Ledger as the Joker, Gary Oldman was Commissioner Gordon, Christian Bale was Batman. I thought it was really well done, and you had Aaron Eckhart as Two-Face. The only thing I'm really disappointed, not that I'm really disappointed in, but I'm somewhat taken back by it, I suppose you could say. I thought we'd get more of, Two-Face and Harvey Dent and Aaron Eckhart, but, once he has that accident with the acid and what have you, he just becomes this maniacal, evil villain, and I think he does a masterful job with it. Same thing with Heath Ledger and the Joker. I don't know whether this was his last film role or The Dark Knight was the one previous to his final film role, and that was released posthumously. I can't remember the name of his final film, but The Dark Knight, really well done. I saw that 3 times in theaters. And by the 3rd time, maybe I was burnt out a little bit, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it. Maybe I'll go back and watch these films at some point, because I do have them on, these 4 film favorite DVD sets. So probably I'll dig them out and then just enjoy them for what they are. I know I was I was watching Batman Returns not that long ago, but there's another one, see, there it goes again. Batman: The Dark Knight, another film that I've seen more than once in the theaters. Now, moving on to another film, probably the last one I'm going to talk about because it's the last one that comes to mind, is Street Kings. This is a film with Keanu Reeves, Forrest Whitaker, Hugh Laurie, Jay Moore, Terry Crews, and Chris Evans. So this is your typical, like, cop action film, and I do love action films. I'm not even going to deny it, but I am also very impartial to a rom-com, so that'll give you a window into what I like. And Keanu Reeves basically plays a cop who is trying to clean up corruption within his police department, and he finds out that, I guess, his commanding officer or his mentor or both, who is played by Forrest Whitaker, is basically the head of the Snake. He is the head of this corruption ring, and he's the reason that nothing ever gets done and everything basically hits the fan. Really cool. It's one of the few Keanu Reeves films that I do enjoy. Like The Day the Earth Stood Still is another one. I did see that once in theaters. It's not one of the ones that I did see more than once. But for some reason, I guess it's because I love the action in this film. Common was in there too, the rapper, along with everybody else I mentioned previously. And I thought it was really well done. You know, for a sort of crime drama film where it was just like bullets flying everywhere and a lot of cop corruption. I thought it was cool. I thought it was really well done. I enjoyed it. I saw it 3 times, I think. I have it on DVD, and the funny thing is, I didn't even realize that this film, Street Kings, has a sequel. I thought that was just a standalone film, and from watching the trailer to Street Kings 2, or I'm not even sure if it's Street Kings 2 or Street Kings with a subtitle underneath it, but after watching the trailer for the sequel to Street Kings, I was just kind of like, I'll stick with the original, please, with Keanu Reeves, Chris Evans, Forrest Whitaker, Jay Moore, Terry Crews, Hugh Laurie, and the whole host load of others that were in there. And if I missed anybody out, you guys can go back through this and leave those names in the comments below. But those were 3 films that I've seen more than once. Street Kings, The Dark Knight, and both the first 2 Iron Man films I've seen at least twice, maybe 3 times each. But those films, I don't know, for some reason, all of those films spoke to me for some reason. Maybe it was the action, maybe it was the, like, just something to go see because it was in theaters and I was bored. I'm not sure. I'm a big fan of, apparently back then anyway, I was a big fan of going to the movies. Not so much anymore. Like I said earlier, it depends on who I go with now, because I go to movies, at least in theaters, to spend time with my friends, even though I know you're supposed to basically not talk and pay attention to the movie, which I do, but I go for the company of my friends and not for the movie itself. If I enjoy the movie, great, but I'm there to enjoy the company now more than anything else. At least that's what I find, and that's what I go for. But there you have it. There are some movies that I went to the theaters to see more than one time. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. Just a reminder that new episodes of the Beats and Speaks podcast are released every Friday, so keep your eyes peeled to me on social media. Links are below. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. Find the Beats and Speaks podcast on LeighTDickey.com, my official website, on YouTube, on the Leigh Dickey TV YouTube channel, and iTunes, Spotify, and your preferred podcast app and player of choice. But there you have it. Another episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. That's a wrap. Thanks again for listening and tuning in to this brand new episode. But we will see you all next time. We will talk to you all next time. I hope you have a good one. And we will talk to you all and see you all later. Peace. TTDickey.com.